next one, please? Could we have Kushi, please?
Of course you know what going into a tunnel is like. The engine gives a scream, and then suddenly the noise of the running, rattling train changes from grows different and much louder. Grown-up people pull up the windows and hold them by the strap. The railway carriage suddenly grows like night, with lamps, of course, unless you are in a slow local train, in which case lamps are not always provided. Then by and by the darkness outside, the carriage window is touched by puffs of cloudy whiteness. Then you see a blue light on the walls of the tunnel. Then the sound of the moving train changes once more, and you are out in the good open air again. All this, of course, is what a tunnel means when you are in a train. But everything is quite different when you walk into a tunnel on your own feet and tread on shifting and sliding stones and gravel on a path that curves downwards from the shining metals to the wall. Then you see slimy oozing trickles of running water down the inside of the tunnel, and you notice that the bricks are not red or brown, as they are quite at the tunnel's mouth, but dull, sticky, and sickly green. Your voice when you speak is quite changed from what it was out in the sunshine, and it is a long time before the tunnel is quite dark.
Okay, using your own words, describe the differences between entering a tunnel on foot and entering in a train, as indicated in the passage. And this is worth 4 marks, so you're going to need to highlight at least 2 details about entering a tunnel on foot and at least 2 about entering in a train and differences that there are. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes for this one. So it's going to be quite a lengthy answer. Remember to refer to the question in your answer, and that really helps to kind of focus your mind on the detail of your answer. Okay, quite a lot of people have identified the distinction of what the sights and sounds are when entering on foot as opposed to being on the train. And when it's really loud, you see so much more detail within the tunnel. So I've chosen one. Entering a tunnel in a train is noisy. The sound crescendos until very loud. The carriage windows turn into a wall of darkness, whereas and good use of that word there as well to show the differences. Whereas when you enter a tunnel on foot, you see gravel on a path that curves downwards. You also notice the slimy trickles of water running down the inside of the tunnel, all of which can't be spotted when entering a in a train. Annie, yours is really good there as well. In a train, the whole thing is very quick, whereas on foot, it's a long time before the tunnel is quite dark. Remember, we're paraphrasing here. So you don't necessarily have to put the evidence in, which sounds a bit strange because we're always saying include evidence. But when it's a paraphrasing question, it is literally in your own words. But you have said what it shows, that it takes a long time even to go down the centre of a tunnel. Okay, thank you very much for those answers. Everybody's working super hard today. Ria, could you read this next passage, please?
I crossed the staircase landing and entered the room she indicated. From that room, too, the daylight was completely excluded, and it had an airless smell that was oppressive. A fire had been lately kindled eyelid in the damp old-fashioned grate, and it was more disposed to go out than to burn up. And the reluctant smoke which hung in the room seemed colder than the clearer air like our own marsh mist. Certain wintry branches of candles on the high chimney piece faintly lighted the chamber, or it would be more expressive to say faintly troubled its darkness. It was spacious, and I dare say had once been handsome, but every discernible thing in it was covered with dust and mould, and dropping to pieces. The most prominent object was a long table with a tablecloth spread on it, as if a feast had been in preparation when the house and the clocks all stopped together. An epergne or centerpiece was in the clocks and was in the middle of this clock. It was so heavily overhung with cobwebs that its form was quite indistinguishable. And as I looked along the yellow expanse out of which I remember its seeming to grow like a black fungus, I saw spectacle-legged spiders with blotchy bodies running home to it and running out from it, as if some circumstance of this great public importance has just transpired in the spider community.
Thank you. So in your own words, remember it is in your own words only when we're paraphrasing, describe the room that the narrator has entered. Have a look at the detail about the room. So 5 minutes from now. Some absolutely excellent contributions there coming through. I have chosen one that I was quite impressed by. The room the narrator has entered is quite old and it hasn't been cared for in a long time. There are cobwebs growing dust over items. The room is also quite spacious with not much furniture in the room. It's also quite dimly lit. The candles don't have much effect. It's also quite cold, and even colder than the air outside. The wildlife has taken ownership of the house and the spiders treat it as their own home, and it's overgrown with mold. Many more than 4 points there, so you've absolutely guaranteed your four marks. But if you are, hedge your bets if you've got the time and you write quite quickly. So that is an example of a 4 mark. Could I now please have Rini, and we've got an extract from Oliver Twist, one of my favourites.
The room in which the boys were fed was large stone hall with a copper at one end, out of which the master, dressed in an apron for the purpose and assisted by 1 or 2 women, landed and the gruel at meal times of the festive composition. The boys had 1 porringer and no more except on occasions of public rejoice, and when he had 2 ounces and a quarter of the bread besides. The bowls never wanted washing. The bowls polished them with their spoons again till they shone again. And when they had performed this operation, which never took very long, the spoons being nearly as large as the bowls. They would sit staring at the copper with such large, eager eyes, as if they could ever devour the very bricks of which it was composed, employing themselves meanwhile in sucking their fingers most assiduously, with the view of catching up any stray splashes of gruel that might have been cast thereon.
Thank you very much. So in your own words, explain what you learn about the orphanage in which Oliver Twist lives. And it's the details about the place that he's living in. So again, just about 5 minutes, 4 marks. So 4 points, please. Okay, so we learn that the orphanage was very large. We also learn that the owners were quite cruel and unsympathetic, and we know this because they do not give the children there enough food. The children are so hungry at meal times that the bowls need not to be washed, as they were licked clean essentially by the children. We also know that the equipment wasn't proper or good. The spoons that the boys ate for were as big as the bowls, so it was very large. There was a kitchen at one end, which the boys seemed very, very focused on, because if you think hunger is a real serious thing, and it was not at all a pleasant place to be. Thank you, everybody who contributed there. I've been reading through some really good answers. I'm very, very, very impressed by your paraphrasing skills today. Everybody's working really hard.